Deebo Samuel, 29 years old, in the final year of a big contract that's going to cost about $17.5 million in cap space for the Commanders. He's 29. He was an All-Pro a few seasons ago. His production has come down. It was, there was some talk about his dad bod a few weeks ago when he showed up on Radio Row for the Super Bowl. But, it almost cost them nothing.
Yeah, it's so cheap.
According to Bickle, it's basically a 6-rounder.
Oh, because it's a late fifth.
It's
the 100. If it's the 2025 pick, it's the 148th pick that was acquired from New Orleans in a previous deal, the John Ridgeway deal. I think
your boy did predict that they were going to make a big splash for a big name.
I think they're going to make a few. This might be the first of a few.
It could be. You're right.
I don't know how you don't like the move. 800-636-1067 if you want to chime in. He's a physical, bruising receiver who can go across the middle.
Right.
You can also use him out of the backfield, run him some.
He's going to have, if he's healthy, he's going to have 35 or 40 carries, maybe more in the Kingsbury offense. And it's also a clear indicator that Peters, Quinn, and the brass know they need wide receiver help. As Jason's mentioned a few times, they only have 2 wideouts under contract at this point. Now, when the Deebo deal goes through officially on March 10th or 12th,
I think it's the 12th.
That'll be 3.
Yeah.
Like, they needed bodies. And look, they know that they can't keep relying on Noah Brown and Zacchaeus. They needed a talent upgrade. Now they have a clear number 2 behind Terry McLaurin.
And Peters knows this guy from his days in San Francisco.
Right.
I know a lot of people are worried about his production, but again, a 5th-round pick. They traded Jahan Dotson.
Got a 3rd-rounder.
Got a 3rd-round pick. And get Deebo Samuel for a 5th-rounder?
And again, look.
Think about that.
It's basically a 1-year rental. This is a fancier version of bringing Zach Ertz in on a 1-year deal because he's got 1 year left on his contract. He's making $17 million. This is also Adam Peters saying, I don't really want to pay T. Higgins $30+ million, top of the wide receiver market. I don't want to trade for Tyreek Hill and pay that guy $30+ million. Here you get cost control, $17 million.
Yeah.
And a guy who should be motivated to have a huge year because he's in a contract year.
Correct.
And he'll be in the last bite at the apple phase of his career, his last real chance to make big money. Yeah. So to part with a 5th-round pick for a guy with this sort of upside, I think it's hard. It's hard to argue with it.
And people will look at the production from last year, but if you paid attention to the team and him in particular, he battled injuries the entire year. He was pretty much a question mark. He was listed as questionable. I would say about half the games.
He had 2 huge things that derailed him. He had no oblique injury,
and he had a calf.
Well, and you're not even counting the pneumonia. He went into the hospital for pneumonia, which for a professional atthete,
he had a bad
in the middle
year.
Of the season, that's pretty tough to
recover from.
He
had a bad health year.
He had a really bad health.
And it wasn't just him. Look, San Francisco's entire offense was pretty much hurt.
Right.
But he is, when he's healthy, he's a star.
Right.
And he's not old. He's 29. All right. So he's not over the hill. And he can take it to the house. He's versatile. Like you mentioned, he can carry the ball. He can catch it, take it to the house. He's fast. Physical.
Oh, he's so physical.
And the fact that they stole him for a 5th-round pick.
Yeah, and I wouldn't expect him to be 2021 Deebo, where he had a ridiculous year. We had 1,400+ receiving yards. Then he had another 365 rushing yards and scored 14 total touchdowns. I don't see that Deebo, but I see a Deebo maybe if he's healthy that gives you 1,000 all-purpose yards and 7 or 8 touchdowns, which
I'd say
which would be fantastic.
I would say minimum
as your number 2 wideout.
Of course,
I didn't realize that he owned the NFL record for most rushing touchdowns by a receiver all time.
Yeah,
he's the first wide receiver to have 20+ rushing touchdowns and 20+ receiving touchdowns in a career. He had the most rushing touchdowns in a single season in 2021, that year you mentioned. But yeah, I don't know if you're a Skins fan, I don't know how you can't just be thrilled to add him to, they have Eckler and him and now Terry. You just have guys that could just take it to the house at any moment. Versatile. Yeah.
And it kind of shows you that
for nothing.
And it kind of shows you that Peters and Quinn, they're all in.
Oh yeah. They want to make a run.
They're all in.
This upcoming season.
Yeah, they traded for Lattimore last year.
Yeah.
That kind of showed you they were all in. They just needed a shutdown corner. Now they go out and trade for a legit number 2 receiver. He was their number 1.
Right.
until he got injured, but they're all in.
So I don't know. I think I will say I'm not willing to go there quite yet. I think close. But if they pull off like a Myles Garrett trade, like one other big one, then I know they're all.
They still have like $68 million in cap room after adding Deebo to the mix. So they still have a lot of money to play with if they want to.
Well, the reason I say they're all in is because at the very least, they're going to have him for 1 year.
Right.
Okay. Maybe if he has a good year, he negotiates an extension, 2-year extension.
That's something you deal with.
Or maybe he just goes to free agency. But they're all in for next year because they're going out and getting a 1-year superstar.
And if you look at the wideout room now, Terry's the 1. Deebo slots in as a 2. If you can re-sign De'Ami Brown, he's a perfect number 3 that's ascending. And then you've got Luke McCaffrey as your 4. And then you might
maybe they
draft somebody else, maybe another smaller free agent signing to add to the room. And that room all of a sudden starts looking a lot better when Terry and Deebo are atop the depth chart.
Yep.
800-636-1067. Your reaction. Here's what Jay Gruden, former Commanders head coach, said about the addition.
What's up, everybody? Jay Gruden here. Commanders get Deebo Samuel. Some people say he's past his prime. He's hurt a lot. He's not worth the money. I disagree. I think Deebo Samuel's perfect for Cliff Kingsbury's offense. They need another physical receiver. They need a guy that can go across the middle, snatch it, and run after the catch and play with physical bruising style and ball. This guy can do it all, man. I really believe it. I think he's a perfect fit for the Commanders. For a 5th-round pick, man, you can't beat it. Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel. Now we add another piece, maybe a big, long stride and fast son of a gun to really take the top off. Commanders are onto something here with this receiving core. Nice job.
Another thing, the Commanders threw the third most screens in the league in 2024. And that's where Deebo lives. That's Deebo's neighborhood. Like that's
because he can take a
1-yard
catch and take it 25, 30, or to the house.
You mix him in on jet sweeps, some gadget plays, and
what you see when you watch him and just watch his highlights, he's got great hands. He's physical, and his after the catch stuff is crazy.
Now his yak went down to the lowest in his career this past season, but again, I think you chalk that up to mostly health issues more than just him like being washed or anything like that.
I don't see why he can't play at a very, very high level if he's healthy.
He can.
Yeah.
He can and he will if he's healthy.
Right. But again, what I love about it more than anything is beyond his obvious attributes that he provides in a football team is that it just makes the draft that much easier.
Yeah.
When you can sign these impactful guys like this, acquire them, however, via trade or free agency, it clears up the draft a little bit, and now you can hone in on defense or hone in on offensive line, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, let's make out some of these calls. 800-636-1067. I can't imagine a single Commander/Skins fan who was out there and was boo-hooing about this deal, especially when you saw the compensation. When you saw the compensation was a 5th-round pick,
give me a break. You got to pull the trigger on that.
I wiped my rear end with 5th-round picks. I mean, who cares? Let's go to John, Huntingtown. John, what's up?
Morning, fellas. You there?
Yep.
Yeah, what's up, man?
I got to tell you, the first thing that popped off in my head, and I'm a diehard Skins fan like you guys, well, most of you guys. If we can get the production of like a Pierre Garçon out of him, it's a win. And giving up a 5th, that was shocking. I know John Lynch is pretty squared away GM, but that's what came across. Like, if you think about it, the wide receiver, he's even more versatile when you can put him on the side, bring him across, especially when you're down the red zone, the 5 to 7 yard line. He can do things that Ty Pierre couldn't. But you guys touched on at the beginning with across the middle. That's kind of like the comparison. If we can get that production, it's a win all day.
Well, I mean,
have a great week, boys.
Thank you. He'd be hard pressed to match Pierre's production here. I mean, he had ridiculous campaigns here. He had a 113 catch season in 2013, 68, 72, and 79. Like, I don't know if Deebo is going to get up into that territory, especially with Terry being here, Eckler back, if Ertz gets re-signed. I don't think Deebo is going to be a guy who catches 70 balls. If he does, then it's a massive steal.
Yeah. Maybe not in this system, but his best was better than Pierre Garçon's best. He was an all-pro. That's best 2 receivers in the league just a couple seasons ago. It's not 10 seasons ago. I saw all these comparisons, too, about the missed games because people are really worried, like, oh, he's injury-prone, he's banged up. and he's missed a couple games, these last couple of seasons, but it was comparable to guys like A.J. Brown, and we know how good A.J. Brown is.
He's
He
very
plays
good,
he plays through injuries.
But
That's what he
he's
does.
not Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase.
No.
Like he's not Tyreek Hill level good. Like he's never been that guy. But he's a guy who's going to augment what he does in the receiving game.
He looks like he's a guy
with 40 or 50 carries and be just an all-around weapon.
He's a 90-plus touch guy a season. 90-plus touches.
He can be.
That's what he was last year.
Yeah, if he's healthy, he
that
is.
That was last year.
And that was
the
a
year
down
before
year.
that. And the year before that.
Yeah.
He's 90-plus touches
If he's
a year.
healthy, he's going to be a huge asset.
And in 2021, he
100%.
had like friggin' 130.
I mean, if he gets
he's not going to do
if
that.
he gets close
but-
to 2021 numbers, it's the move of the last decade.
Yeah.
If he gets anywhere close
All right,
to that.
800, 636.
I don't know if he's going to have 121 targets. I mean, he's
No, I
got
don't think so.
McLaurin on the other side. But if he has 80 or 90 targets, he's going to put up good numbers.
800-636-1067. What do you think? I know I have to say my eyebrows were raised. I was kind of surprised that they pulled the trigger on it. It makes sense in hindsight, and we talked about why it would make sense with the connection to Peters and everything and the need. But I was kind of surprised that they actually went for it.
It's a 1-year gamble with a lot of potential upside.
Very little lose. I can't believe they got him for so cheap. I mean, it's crazy to me.
The Niners.
Well, the
knew
Niners are in a situation where they've got to sign Brock Purdy.
They were
to a
kind of
huge-
over a barrel. Like Peters kind of had him in a advantageous spot.
Well, look, I mean, Deebo asked for a trade before the extension 2 years ago, and they gave him the extension. But he always has wanted to go play somewhere else. He wasn't happy in San Francisco anymore. Why would you keep him if you know he doesn't want to be here?
All right, let's go to Tobias in D.C. 800-636-1067. Come on, Cakes, you know what? It's worthy of some music.
Sure.
I think it's worthy of music when you add a weapon like that. Tobias. Hey, buddy.
Hey, good morning, Junks.
What's
Morning.
up, Tobias?
Hey, lifelong Skins fan. And I tell you what, when the names came up with the wide receivers and T. Higgins and all this, the first name I said was Deebo. I think he fits the locker room, and I think it was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful deal.
All right, so he's in. He
Thank
loves
you.
it. He loves Deebo.
I think most
coming to
people
the
are going to be in.
Commanders.
I can't imagine. Give me a reason why not to be.
I mean, if you threw a second rounder, a third rounder to San Francisco for him, different story. Fifth rounder,
Fifth rounder, come on.
it's a steal.
They drafted Diami, with the second round?
He was a third round pick.
Third round.
I looked on our Facebook page, and there was about 600 comments on the posts about Deebo Samuel. There were some people that just feel like he's washed,
Well, they don't know.
and they
Hard for
don't
me
think
to
he
say.
adds much.
Hard for me to say at 29 that you're washed.
But
If he
I
has
think Cakes brought up
if he
Zach
has
Ertz earlier. That was kind of the assumption about Zach Ertz.
If he has
I think you got to
another
trust
year-
Adam Peters at this point,
I
right?
trust him.
Like
sure.
so far, all right, you can question the Marshawn Lattimore deal, but so far, pretty much everything he's done here in Washington has worked out. And then it's kind of laughable when you see the comparisons. They traded Jahan Dotson, got a third rounder. Cowboys traded a fourth rounder for Jonathan Mingo. They pick up an all-pro. I know it wasn't last year. For a fifth round pick, almost a sixth round pick.
Well, the other
I mean,
thing
it's
is-
ridiculous.
The other thing is that, and Peters knows him. He knows the kind of character he has. He knows what he brings to a locker room. And my understanding is Anthony Lynn coached him at some point too.
Yes,
So
they do know him, 100%.
they know him. They know exactly what they're getting. I guess the only question will be what's left in the tank.
He's got to
what kind
stay
of health.
healthy. Yeah. As long as he's over the pneumonia and that oblique and doesn't have a bunch of nagging injuries to keep him out of games, it's definitely worth the risk.
Did you see
of a
Magic
fifth rounder.
Johnson's deep, insightful tweet?
I did not.
What'd you say?
He said, "It was nice to see my Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels at the USC versus UCLA game. I know he's all smiles after our team acquired Deebo Samuel earlier today."
He's right. You know what? When Magic's right, he's right.
I think Jaden had a social media post too, and it was interesting. He was at 49ers game, I guess, 2 years ago when he was still in college, standing there with Brandon Ayuk and Samuel.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
There
he
you
has a
go. They know
relationship.
each other.
By the way, on a side note, the Niners want to completely blow up their wideout room because they got rid of Deebo and they're discussing trading Ayuk if they can find any takers.
Well, if they bring Ayuk here, then it's over.
Well,
then
that-
it's
I mean,
on.
he's coming off an ACL tear, but I don't know. He's kind of out there.
They could get those guys within a year. You're good. Jay, what's up?
Hey, what's up, fellas? How y'all doing this morning?
What's up, Jay?
What do you think?
Quick, I love the trade because I'm looking beyond just what Deebo can do for himself. I'm looking at the fact that having Deebo out there, that's going to open up a lot of other big plays for Terry. You're not going to be able to just focus on him all game. That's going to open up the run lanes too, and Jaden's just having a lot more options out there. I just think that's a real big thing. And if Deebo can stay healthy, and one thing about this coaching staff, they're not going to put a lot of pressure on him. He's not going to have to carry a lot of weight like he did with San Francisco with us. So I like the trade overall, man. It's a good trade.
All right,
Thanks, pal.
Thank you, buddy.
Jaden Daniels hit Instagram with his story. He said, "Let's work and let's get to it, gang." So he seems fired up.